In a small, dusty town nestled between rolling hills, the lone sheriff stood as a beacon of justice. Sheriff Tom Hart was a tall man with a strong build, his weathered face carrying the marks of countless days spent under the sun. He had a reputation for fairness and integrity, always striving to do what was right, even when it was unpopular. The townspeople admired him not just for his law enforcement skills but for his genuine care for their well-being. Sheriff Hart would often stop by the general store, sharing stories and laughter with the locals, making him feel more like a neighbor than an authority figure. Despite his friendly demeanor, the sheriff faced challenges that tested his beliefs. He understood that justice could be complicated, especially in a tight-knit community where everyone knew each other's business. When trouble arose, he felt the weight of responsibility on his shoulders. He believed in second chances and redemption, even for those who strayed from the path of right. However, he also recognized that some situations demanded swift action. As news spread about the horse thief who had disrupted their peaceful town life, Sheriff Hart's resolve grew stronger. He knew that he had to uphold the law while considering the feelings of those affected. This balancing act would soon lead to difficult choices, not just for him but for everyone involved in this unfolding drama of justice and revenge. In this moment, the sheriff's character would be put to the ultimate test as he faced an unexpected moral dilemma involving love, loss, and loyalty. The peaceful town was shaken when news of a horse theft spread like wildfire. The victim, old Mr. Jenkins, was a beloved figure known for his gentle spirit and kind heart. His prized horse, a beautiful chestnut named Copper, was not just an animal but a loyal companion and a part of his family. The theft left Mr. Jenkins heartbroken, and the townsfolk felt his pain deeply. Many gathered to discuss the sudden loss, worried that their own belongings might be next. The thief was a man named Billy Wren, known for his reckless ways and troubled past. Once a familiar face in the town, Billy had drifted away from good choices, often drawn into trouble. Rumors swirled that he had been seen lurking around the stables days before the theft, eyeing Copper with envy. When it became clear that Billy was responsible for the crime, anger spread among the townspeople like wildfire. As Sheriff Hart began his investigation, he felt the pressure mounting. The town's sense of security was at stake, and he knew he needed to act quickly to restore peace. The urgency grew as whispers about revenge circulated among Mr. Jenkins' family members, especially his twin sons, Jake and Eli, two young men known for their fierce loyalty to their father. With emotions running high and tensions rising, Sheriff Hart realized that this incident would not only test his role as lawman but also challenge the very heart of justice in their close-knit community. As the dust settled from the chaos of the horse theft, Billy Wren's widow, Clara, faced the harsh reality of her situation. Living on the outskirts of town, she had always been known for her quiet demeanor and kind heart. Now, she was left alone to grapple with the consequences of her husband's actions. While Clara felt the sting of betrayal and shame, she also couldn't help but remember the man she loved, the husband who had once brought joy and laughter into her life. Clara knew Billy had made many mistakes, but she also saw glimpses of goodness in him and remembered the life they built together. As she sat on their porch, feeling lost, grief washed over her like an unrelenting tide. The townspeople's whispers reached her ears, filled with anger and disdain toward her late husband. She felt isolated from the community she once cherished and feared that their judgment would extend to her as well. Her heart ached not just for Billy's choices but also for Mr. Jenkins and his family. Clara wished she could express her sorrow directly to them, to let them know that she bore no ill will towards anyone. In the quiet moments, tears fell as she recalled how much Billy had longed for redemption, hoping to make amends one day. As the sun set over the hills, Clara stood at a crossroads. She could either shrink away from the townspeople's fury or find strength within herself to seek forgiveness for both her husband and herself. This was not just about grief, it was about finding a way forward amid tragedy. As news of the theft spread, Mr. Jenkins' twin sons, Jake and Eli, felt a deep fire ignite within them. They were known around town for their strong bond and their unwavering loyalty to their father. Standing side by side with identical expressions of anger and determination, they vowed to make things right. Copper was more than just a horse, he had been a part of their childhood, a companion during long summer days spent riding through the hills. Fueled by their love for their father and their desire for justice, the twins began plotting how they would confront Billy Wren. They believed that taking matters into their own hands was the only way to restore honor to their family. Jake, the older of the two by just minutes, was often the voice of reason, but even he struggled to rein in Eli's fiery spirit. Eli's heart raced at the thought of avenging their father's grief, a grief that echoed throughout their family home since Copper was stolen. Late into the night, as the moon hung high in the sky, they gathered their father's old Colts and made a plan to find Billy. Whispers of revenge coursed through them like an electric current. They were determined to act before Sheriff Hart could intervene, convinced that the law might not be enough to satisfy their thirst for justice. For Jake and Eli, this was no longer just about a stolen horse, it was about standing up for their family and reclaiming what was rightfully theirs. Under the cloak of darkness, Jake and Eli gathered in their family barn, the familiar scent of hay and leather surrounding them. The moonlight streamed through the cracks in the wooden walls, casting shadows that danced as they discussed their plan for midnight justice. They knew they had to act quickly before Sheriff Hart could intervene or before Billy Wren had a chance to escape with the stolen horse. With determination in their eyes, the twins set to work. They each loaded up their father's trusty Colts with supplies, ropes for securing Wren, lanterns for light, and even a few old family rifles, though they hoped not to use them, preferring to intimidate rather than harm. Eli felt the weight of the rifle in his hands and glanced at Jake, who nodded reassuringly. This was not just about revenge, it was about standing up for their family's honor and reclaiming Copper. After ensuring they had everything they needed, they quietly saddled their horses and rode out under the stars, their hearts pounding with excitement and fear. Their destination was Wren's old hideout near the river, a place known for its secluded nature and the perfect spot to catch someone off guard. As they approached, whispering to each other about what they would say when they confronted him, adrenaline surged through them. The twins envisioned a confrontation filled with power and resolve. They wanted Billy Wren to feel the weight of his actions, not just for stealing Copper but for tearing apart their family's peace. With every hoofbeat echoing in the night air, Jake and Eli were ready to take back what was rightfully theirs. As Sheriff Tom Hart sat in his office, the weight of the situation pressed heavily on his shoulders. He had received word that Jake and Eli were heading out for a confrontation with Billy Wren, armed and ready for what they considered justice. The sheriff's heart sank, knowing that this could escalate into a dangerous situation, far beyond just retrieving a stolen horse. He respected the twins' desire to protect their family's honor but felt a growing unease as he considered the implications of their actions. In this moment, he found himself at a crossroads: uphold the law or allow the boys to pursue their revenge. Sheriff Hart had seen firsthand how anger could cloud judgment, leading good people down dark paths. He remembered his own youthful impulses and how easily they could spiral out of control. The sheriff glanced out the window at the moonlit streets, where the fear and tension in the air were palpable. He wanted to stand firm against any vigilante justice. After all, he had dedicated his life to maintaining order and protecting his community. Yet, he also understood the pain that fueled Jake and Eli's determination. A part of him longed to ride out into the night and confront them, to guide them back toward a path of reason and understanding. But would they listen? Or would his intervention push them further into their vengeful quest? Sheriff Hart's inner turmoil deepened, knowing he must act swiftly before someone got hurt. The choice weighed heavily on him: justice through the law or an inevitable clash born from revenge. As the moon hung high over the landscape, casting eerie shadows on the ground, Sheriff Hart raced his horse toward the river, where he knew the twins intended to confront Billy Wren. The night air was thick with tension, and he could feel his heart pounding in rhythm with the hooves of his steed. What would he find when he arrived? Would Jake and Eli listen to reason, or had their anger already taken control? Not far from the riverbank, he spotted the flickering glow of lanterns and heard hushed voices rising in fervor. The sheriff paused, taking a deep breath to steady himself before approaching. The scene that unfolded before him was a mix of determination and turmoil. Jake and Eli stood with their rifles at their sides, their faces illuminated by candlelight. They were ready for confrontation, adrenaline coursing through them like wildfire. "Billy Wren!" Jake shouted into the night, his voice echoing off the water's surface. "Come out and face us." At that moment, Sheriff Hart knew he had to intervene. He dismounted quickly, stepping into the light. "Boys! You need to stop this right now." His voice boomed with authority, but tempered with urgency. The twins turned, their expressions filled with equal parts surprise and frustration. "Sheriff! Stay out of this!" Eli snapped, gripping his weapon tighter. Hart's heart raced as he fought against their mounting hostility. With every second that passed, the situation felt more precarious. He could sense that they were on the brink of a dangerous decision that could change everything. "Listen to me," he urged, his voice calm yet firm. "There's a better way to handle this than violence." As tension crackled in the air around them, every moment stretched thin with uncertainty about what would happen next. As tensions hung thick in the air, Sheriff Hart stepped forward, placing himself between the twins and their target, Billy Wren. "You're making a mistake," he said firmly, his eyes locked onto Jake and Eli, who still clutched their rifles tightly. The moonlight cast shadows on their determined faces, but Hart could see the flicker of doubt in their eyes as they faced him. "Let us handle this, Sheriff," Jake shouted, frustration boiling over. "He took our father's horse. He deserves to pay." "I understand," Hart replied gently but with conviction. "But what happens if you confront him like this? You risk becoming what you despise, a man driven by anger. Revenge won't bring Copper back." Eli hesitated, lowering his rifle slightly as he considered the sheriff's words. Hart saw an opportunity and pressed on, "I'll help you find Copper. We can do this together, by following the law and bringing him to justice through the right channels." Slowly, both twins exchanged glances, grappling with their emotions. They were trapped between their thirst for vengeance and the promise of true justice that Hart offered. Finally, Eli sighed deeply and lowered his weapon completely. "We just want our father to have peace," he admitted quietly. With a nod of understanding, Sheriff Hart felt a sense of relief wash over him. He pulled out his own weapon and gestured for them to follow him back toward town. Together, they would not only face Billy Wren but work to ensure that justice was served in a way that honored Mr. Jenkins' memory and upheld the values that kept their community strong. In the days that followed the confrontation, a sense of calm began to settle over the town. Sheriff Hart worked diligently with Jake and Eli, helping them navigate the legal process to bring Billy Wren to justice for stealing copper. The twins slowly found solace in knowing they had chosen the right path, one that honored their father's memory while also respecting the law. Their initial thirst for revenge transformed into a commitment to seeking justice through the proper channels. Clara, Wren's widow, was also affected by the developments. Despite her grief and the shame surrounding her husband's actions, she found a glimmer of hope as she witnessed the community's response. The sheriff encouraged her to reach out to Mr. Jenkins' family, leading to unexpected conversations about forgiveness and healing. Clara realized that while her husband had made grave mistakes, she could choose to embrace mercy and work toward rebuilding her life. As the trial approached, Sheriff Hart reflected on his own journey through this turmoil. He had learned that justice isn't merely about punishment but also about understanding and compassion. By guiding the twins away from revenge, he had not only protected them but had also reinforced the idea that true justice often requires mercy. With each passing day, the town grew stronger as its members began to heal. The shared experience of loss and resolution bonded them closer together, reinforcing their commitment to supporting one another. In navigating these complex emotions, everyone involved discovered that justice and mercy could coexist, creating a path toward reconciliation and peace in their lives. As the dust settled on this tumultuous chapter, the small town emerged stronger and more united. Sheriff Tom Hart's leadership had been instrumental, guiding Jake and Eli through a transformative experience that shifted their understanding of justice from one rooted in revenge to one grounded in compassion and accountability. The twins learned that true justice could offer closure without inflicting further pain, a lesson that would shape their lives moving forward. Clara, too, found a renewed sense of purpose. Embracing forgiveness allowed her to rebuild connections within the community and seek redemption for her husband's actions. This act of kindness did not erase the past but paved the way for healing, a reminder that mercy can coexist alongside justice. As she began to volunteer and share her story, Clara became a symbol of resilience, showing that even in the darkest of times, hope could flourish. The townspeople reflected on this experience, realizing the impact of their choices, not only on themselves but also on those around them. In a world where anger and despair often seemed like the easier paths, they discovered the strength found in empathy and understanding. As they moved forward, Sheriff Hart continued to remind everyone that true justice is not merely about punishment, it is about fostering a sense of community where everyone can grow from their mistakes. This story became a thread woven into the fabric of their lives, a testament to the power of choice, the strength of forgiveness, and the enduring hope for a better tomorrow in their close-knit community.